Hello everyone, this is day 2 of my studwork installation on this single story bungalow. What we managed to get done on the first day was get all of the sole plates marked out on the floor, and then we plumbed up and got all of the top plates knocked out and fixed to the bottom side of the trusses. What we've got to do today is set out our studs. I'm going to put these at 400 centres, mark where the door openings are going to go and put the studs in for those, and then we're going to just infill all these studs as we go. I think where we got to on the first part of this video was I had cut and fixed all of the upright studs that go against the external walls. What I didn't show you is how I fixed them. Basically what I do is drill a 10mm hole through the timber with a wood bit, and then I drill a 10mm hole through that into the masonry with a 10mm masonry bit, and then what I put in is a fairly sort of standard, this is a Fisher style fixing. I think these are actually Fisher fixings, and then that just secures this stud to the external skin. Two reasons for that really. Obviously it's got to be fixed, so firstly it fixes the stud wall to the external wall, but also by fixing the stud wall to the external wall it does give the external wall added stability. So as I said, the first job that I'm going to do when it comes to starting to put these studs in is mark out where all my doorways go. So as you can see here, I've got my doorway opening. I'll explain a bit more. So what I do is my stud wall comes in at 90 degrees to this stud wall, and I leave I leave a 2.5 inch nib behind this wall to the door lining. That allows for an architrave and plasterboard. And then these doors here that we're using are going to be 2'9" doors. So when you add on a 2'9" is, what can we get it there? 33 inches. When you add on for the lining and a small tolerance, that for me comes out at 900mm. So all of my 2'9" openings end up being 900mm wide, my structural openings. Then what I do, as you can see here, I've got the laser, and I basically line the laser up with the edge of the sole plate, and then that throws the line up vertically until it hits the top of my plate. Where is it? There. And then I've got to try and film it and mark it. I can then put a line on there. I can then put a line on there and square that across. So that's marked all the doorways out. Now I'm going to start marking out from the external walls. What I do, it's just a habit I like to get into. I always mark my stud centres from the external wall. Then that way, if I ever come to do any work when the property's finished and I need to fix things into a wall, I always know that it's going to be roughly 400 or 600 centres, whatever my centres are, from the external wall, and I'll find a stud. So I'll show you how I mark out, which is a nice quick and easy way that I found. I mark from the external wall, and then I think, as I explained in one of my other videos, I then accommodate the stud by adding half of its length onto the centre. But what I've done in this case, instead of the studs are about 40mm thick, 38mm thick, rather than add on 20 so it's on centre, I've added on 30, which is an extra 10mm. So what basically that does, when they start to plasterboard, it leaves a 10mm tolerance between the external wall and the start of the plasterboard, and this is mainly to accommodate any discrepancies in the block work. It may be out of level slightly, so it just means that when the plasterboard goes on, it's got a 10mm of tolerance. So then again, what I do once I've marked those out, so as you see there, I've gone 430, 830, 1230 and so on, and then I've set my laser up, which again has thrown a line plumb up to the top. Where is it? There it is. It's thrown it up to the top, and then I've squared it across. So now what I'll do is just put a little nick in there to hook my tape in, and then mark the rest of that plate. Right, so that's been a good couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, and I've got all of those main single studs in. So you know everything's got a 400 centre on it now. So when we come to plasterboard, the edge of the board will be on the middle of a stud. I've got now to just do some bits and bobs around the doorways. This opening that comes through here, I've got to fix a stud on here and close this doorway in. I've got some other little bits and bobs to do around just to form the finish forming the openings up against the adjoining stud walls. So I'm going to get on with that now. I may film a bit of it, but it's not going to be that interesting, I don't think. Right, so that's all of the studs put in around the door openings, and now I'm just going to put the heads in. So I've set the level off we found out what the finished floor level is going to be. It's 65mm off this oversight concrete, and then I've measured up. I put my structural heads in at about, it's 80 inches, which is 2 meters and 30mm, and then I've set my laser up, and what that does is fire a line all the way through, so that I can mark off all the heads of my door openings. So they're all marked and squared across. I'll get those fitted now. So that's all the studs in, all the doorways formed open, and all the heads into the doorways. Now what I've got to do, pretty much the final job, is to run some noggins round just to stiffen it all up. So what I do is the noggins don't actually go dead centre of the stud at 1200, because certainly here in the UK, building control says that the sockets have got to be, I think, no higher than 1200. So if I put the noggin in the middle, the sparky gets grumpy with me because it's in the way of his sockets wherever they go. So what I do is drop it down 100mm, and the way that I do my noggins, I don't ping a line or use a level. I cut what I call it a noggin stick. So I've cut that stick at a 1050, and then what I basically do is measure in between the space of my noggins, and then I lay one end down on there, where is it? One end on there, skew nail it, and then this end I nail through the end. I've got a quick point to mention about my noggin stick. That's this piece of timber that I cut to space my noggins from the floor. Basically what I do is cut a very slight leading edge on the front edge and the back edge, and that helps me pull it out when I finish nailing my noggin. Because if that was square, it would bind. Well, this back edge would bind when you went to pull it out, so it just makes it easier to pull it in and out. So here we have a really good illustration of why you should always keep your fingers and hands out of the way, sort of down range of a nail gun. What happened with this nail was, I obviously went to drive it in there, and because of this knot, the grain has obviously decided that it doesn't want it to go in the direction I wanted it to, and what it's done is deflected it out here, and you can see it's actually curled it out. So yeah, that's exactly an illustration there of why you should always keep your fingers well away from the dangerous end of the nail gun. Right, so just sort of towards the final little bits and bobs of finishing this partitioning stud work out. This is the kitchen area, and what we're having is probably going to be kitchen cabinets and kitchen units along that wall and along this wall. So what I do just to sort of future-proof it is I put a row of noggins. It's usually about 2 meters and 50mm, which coincidentally is about exactly the same as door head height. So what I'm going to do here is just probably going to level a line through here and then through there, and I'll put a row of noggins flat on edge, so that I know that when I come to fit the kitchen, about the point where the wall cabinets fit, there'll be a noggin behind so I can fix solidly to it. So there we go, as the light is starting to fade, I've now got a lovely row of noggins all the way around the outside of the kitchen to fix any wall cabinets that may or may not go there. So the next job here will be the electrician and the plumber is coming in the next week or so. Then after that it will be insulated, and then the tackers will come in and they will plasterboard all the stud work, and they will dot and dab plasterboard all the walls, and then I shall come back and put my door linings in, ready for it to be plastered. So that's the end of this video. I've got part one where I set out the sole plates and the top plates and knocked it out, and in this part I've just studded it all out, formed my doorways, put the heads above the doorways and put all the noggins in. So I hope you found this interesting. As saying, this is how I do it. There's no right or wrong way to do stud work. Everybody does it differently. Some people put staggered noggins in, some people put full noggins in the ceiling, some people put a double sole plate on. I haven't had to in this instance because it's less than 8 feet. So, you know, I hope that this gives some people insight into A, how I do my stud work, and B, what goes into partitioning out basically a shell of a new build, be it a bungalow, or this is very similar to how we do the upstairs of houses and sometimes the downstairs as well. So I hope you found it of interest. Thanks for watching.